Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me this morning to have a look at some of the differences and similarities of Sage 200 Manufacturing and Cim200. My name is Juuso Santti, and I'm Cim200 Program Manager here at Cim. So what we are looking into today for the next half an hour or so is the structure of this webinar. Will give you a brief introduction to who we are as a company and why Cim200 is a natural upgrade route from Sage 200 Manufacturing, as well as demonstrating some additional features that Cim200 gives you over and above what you currently have in Sage 200 Manufacturing. And I'm assuming you have understanding and knowledge of Sage 200 Manufacturing in itself. So who are we? So we've been around since the mid-90s and implementing and supporting manufacturing solutions. And especially for the last decade or so, we've been predominantly developing our own software solutions for Sage 50 and Sage 200 arena. As a business, we have a wealth of knowledge in manufacturing from both sides of the fence. So from the tools to manufacturing project management, as well as software implementations and obviously development as well. So both of our manufacturing solutions, Cim50 and Cim200, are fully accredited and endorsed by Sage. And we have also gained the highest level of accreditation for development by Sage, which is the Sage Tech Partner Plus. It doesn't necessarily tell you much, but I'd say there might be 1,000 Sage Tech partners, but there's only a handful of Sage Tech Partner Pluses, and that is literally a handful. All development of our software is done by our in-house development team, and 100% of the code is produced in the UK. But that's enough of us. So today we are focusing on Cim200, which is the replacement for Sage 200 Manufacturing. So Cim200 has got a look and feel of Sage 200 and Sage 200 Manufacturing, with numerous enhanced features that you can take advantage of. It's continuously developed with a wish list and roadmap published regularly and updated as well. So, and as I mentioned a moment ago, it is fully endorsed and accredited by Sage. So to upgrade from Sage 200 Manufacturing into Cim200 has been simplified with our migration tool that will take your manufacturing data into Cim200, and you can switch from one system to another with a minimal disruption to your business. But why would you upgrade Sage 200 Manufacturing into Cim200? So, as mentioned, the upgrade path to Cim200 has been designed to cause as little disruption to the business as possible. And with a very familiar interface, the Sage 200 Manufacturing users will have familiar feel and have the confidence from the day one to operate it. We have also enhanced the navigation and the workflows by simplifying them and providing easy access to information to enhance your productivity. Cim200 also have a significant number of extra features over Sage 200 Manufacturing, and we are continuously developing more. So we have 2 feature releases every year, so you can be sure to have more functionality all the time. I will demonstrate some of the functionality in a moment. I will not have time during this webinar to go through everything. So here are just some of the additional features Cim200 offers, and full feature list is available from our website, as well as a feature comparison document. Most of the features in Cim200 are driven by customer feedback, and we have introduced numerous minor enhancements, such as new fields here, there, and everywhere, a quick text library for those commonly used command lines that you can pick from a list of pre-baked command lines. Some of the more substantial features that are included within Cim200 include like audit logs in SOP, POP, and works orders, quality control with the quarantine inspection templates and rework operations should any remedial work need to be done after the quality control fails, as well as having inspections when completing operations. You can actually scrap WIP with failed inspections or prevent them to go into the next operation, especially if you're using our software data collection. Graphical scheduler allows you to schedule work by labor machine or by both, or by works orders, highlighting any under overloads or any conflicts. So if there are any resource labor machine conflicts, as well as scheduling machine servicing and maintenance or labor for holidays and sickness. Even the MRP recommendations can be scheduled to allow you to set the date and time for production before actually committing and raising the actual works orders. There are a number of different performance and usability enhancements within the MRP too. So if we can look into those in a moment when I go through the software. Lastly, you may have heard about carbon footprint and upcoming legislation in the EU and globally that we feel that will surely become a legislation in the near future in the UK too. So we have included a carbon footprint calculator to calculate your manufacturing and factory carbon overheads. So all the users can be ready when this legislation cascades into UK. But if we now jump in and have a look how Cim200 looks like and what am I talking about? So Cim200 is within Sage 200 in the same way as Sage 200 Manufacturing, and Cim200 utilizes the standard Sage commercials, so stock, SOP and POP, as well as bills of materials modules. Works orders and planning are completely our own because that's the part of the Sage 200 Manufacturing that is no longer available. So if I go and have a look at, first of all, our stock list, and it looks very similar to Sage stock list. You probably won't see any difference, but when you go and have a look, we have numerous enhancements into stock item record in itself, giving you a lot more flexibility and modernizing your manufacturing. So one of the first things that I want to highlight is, and I mentioned, is the information at your fingertips. So we have a stock profile to which you have access to from sales order lines, quotation lines, and components on the works order. You always have access to stock profile to give you an overall view of any stock transactions. So I can see for these dishwashers, I have 51 in stock, I have 18 allocated, I have 33 in free stock. I can see what purchase orders I have coming in, so there is one coming in, what sales orders I have for this item, if I have any in quarantine, when they were quarantined, why they were quarantined, and such like. And from here, for instance, on a sales order, I can see what the line quantity is, allocated quantity, and so forth. But then from here, I can go and actually view the whole sales order, so you can see what else there is for that particular order. You can also go and view from here. You can go and view history of the stock item, and you can see there are, once you start using Cim200, we are starting to take a note of how many you have within a warehouse and overall across all the warehouses. So you can go in 6 months' time and say, okay, what was my stock holding on the 25th of May? And I can tell you exactly, in factory, I had 16, I had 45 overall in all of my warehouses. This view can also be filtered by a warehouse I can see I have nothing, no transactions or sales orders in factory. They're all in the warehouse. I will be able to go and view what my stock projection is going forward and what my MR with the committed orders and what is my MRP stock projection. I can see after a while, in about a month's time, 4 weeks time, I have a balance of 6. But why do I have balance of 6? Surely it should be 0. But I can go and view my stock record, go and see locations. I can see my reorder level is at 6. Therefore, MRP is trying to drive to have my 6 in stock for that day. In the stock item in itself, we have had a few things that we've done is like a manufacturing tab. We have enhanced that significantly. So we are allowing now you to reschedule your orders. This item, there is none available, but you can reschedule purchase orders or works orders by changing the quantities as well as dates if the demands change. Aggregation methods in standard Sage, you can do that by days, but we can give you calendar weeks and months as well. But where it gets more interesting in terms of MRP is the replenishment options, where you can have multiples, order multiples, you can have minimum order quantities and plus order multiples, and there's numerous ways of delivering those recommendations. The with also supplier and customer alerts, we have similar functionality for stock item alerts. So whenever this stock item is being used in various places, we will have the pop-up appearing. I mentioned you the audit log. So we have the audit log that is available to you as well. We can look at the historical values, for instance, for the quantities, cost price variance, and gives you a graphical view for the last 12 months or any account financial year that you want to look at. Customers will now be able to utilize their own part numbers, and you can use their part numbers on the sales order entry. Mentioned about the quality control. So we have enabled quarantine with different answers that you can specify. Some questions might be mandatory, some might require a specific inspector. So it might be that anyone can form first 3 or 4 inspection details, but then at the end of the process, the supervisor will have to have the final sign-off, for instance. Suppliers, there is now a possibility of having a supplier quantity price breaks as well. And we had a brief look on the locations, but what we have now is new types of warehouses. We have goods in transit, whereby it's an intermediate warehouse where if you're transferring stock from, let's say, from factory to warehouse, they will go into the holding warehouse in between, and there is a time specified for that transfer time. We can even get MRP to recommend you to make stock transfers if the stock is within the warehouse hierarchy that you can define by stock item. So there's quite a number of enhancements there. So if I go have a look on my MRP list, it's similar to standard Sage, but now we have a number of different views. So we can see what's excluded, what demands are, replenishments are, but then we have the rescheduling, what I just mentioned, is rescheduling recommendations. So you can see my current order date is the 13th of November, but I could push back that by 6 days if I wanted to, just to have just-in-time delivery for that stock item. Similarly, for works orders, this one actually current due date is the 1st. I would actually need to have that the day before, but my current quantity is 24, but suggested it's only 4, so I could maybe I could do 4 on the 31st and finish off the rest of the works order at later date. Similarly, we have the stock transfers recommendations. So you can see it goes from home to factory warehouse. Where is the demand high? Where there's a sales order, stock reorder levels and such like, and a transfer time is 3 days. When do we need to transfer it and when we would receive it? Okay. So just a few things there on MRP side of things, and you can have sales forecasts for customers and such like. But if I go back into the stock control, so as I mentioned, we have customer part numbers. We also have a list view of customer part numbers, which can be filtered for, let's say, I have all of these are for Abbey Retail, and I can easily print out the Abbey Retail's stock list or what they have there. We also have rapid entry stock movements for adding stock, writing off stock, doing stock transfers and internal issues. I'm sure you are familiar with Sage 200, where you have to go and do line by line. But over here, I can actually define a warehouse and do that and just say, okay, I'm adding these items into stock. I can change my cost price if I wanted to and tell which date they were transferred, but I can do that on a multi-line entry. And I'm sure this is especially if you're using traceability, you know that when you're doing stock take and you have to either add or remove stock on a traceable items, you just have to go this one by one. You can do the rapid entry movements for traceable items as well, but even better is that for stock take, you can actually do a stock take for a traceable item, whether they're batch or serial number traceable items. You can also create a count sheet. You can export that into Excel, fill that Excel spreadsheet, and then upload it back into Cim. That will do all of those transactions for you straight away. Touched a little bit on the quality control earlier. I will just show you very, very briefly here. So we have a quarantine list view where we will give you why it was quarantined, manual stock transfer, works order completion, or purchase order receipt on these. You can see how many is awaiting inspections, so you can actually do inspections piecemeal. So you receive it into stock, but it goes into the quarantine. You cannot use that stock elsewhere. MRP will see it as a replenishment if you choose so. So you can have multiple different quarantine warehouses for different locations. Some of them might be seen as replenishment, some of them are not. But if I go into an inspection record, if I would say if any were rejected, if I rejected any, I would be able to generate a rework works order, and that will then create a blank works order with the choice of pre-selected rework type of operations, and it will issue itself into it. From here, you can also go and view if it's been needed by any orders, or again, stock profile for that little bit more in-depth look. Or if you have an inspection template against it, you will be able to answer some questions. The results will be logged and audited, saying who tested it by and when it was the last test date. And our shop floor data collection is being integrated with the inspections too. So that's on in terms of quality control, mentioned goods in transit and such like. So if I go and have a look at the sales order processing side of things, I know this is not strictly manufacturing, but these are things that are wished for by a lot of our customers in manufacturing. So if you have a look at the top of the screen here, you can see quotation with a suffix of 001 and 2. What it means is that we now have enabled quotation revisions. So if I go into this particular quotation, I can go and view a revision history. I can see and I can go and view the previous revision. So my 002 is a live one, but I can go and view how that revision actually looked like. And if I look at that, I can clearly see that there is a second line being added to that. So I can go and then I could have 10 iterations of quotation, but only one of them will be live, but you can actually make any of the quotations live or any revision live. We also have a audit log on quotes, sales orders, purchase orders, and costing analysis will give you a breakdown of all the cost items within that quotation. Over here, I have a couple of lines, but if I add a new one, what I can do from here, if I go and have a look on a different one, let's say where it comes from, I get the costs and such like. If you are raising a sales order, you could create a works order, back-to-back create a works order if you have rights to do so. On saving of sales order, again, like I mentioned, you have access to stock profile from here, but you can now also go and configure a bill of material. It will give you the list of components. Maybe sometimes you make something in red, sometimes in blue, or maybe we didn't have these cabinets at all for this particular work, and maybe we had some additional wood to go with that, and that customizes that as a one-off for that particular quotation. This then can be converted into a sales order pro forma, create a works order for that customized bill of material that will be linked onto that sales order. We also give the a costing history, like we do on a BOM history, and you can specify different markups for different phases within the or different cost elements within that quotation. But where to save that? I have my markup percentage is 100 there, but let's say if I do 10 of these, you can also define quantity breaks. I didn't have any setup fees or one-off costs on the materials. So if I go and edit this, I could say, okay, if you order 10, you get 10% discount, and that will then be reflected here and can be printed onto the documentation. I'm not going to save this one now, but I can show you that you can also configure a free text item. Very creative with my naming conventions, but from here I can start creating a completely new bill of material for me, and say quantities of these operations. Maybe that goes into first, it goes into plating in-house, but then it goes into the subcontracting, and you can create a free text item without creating a stock item or bill of material for that at quotation stage. After it's been converted, you can into a sales order, you can actually go and create a new stock item and a bill of material record for it, or you can create just a one-off works order if you wanted to. Right, so you can do all of those on the back of the quotation. Similar things are available to you on sales orders, but you can't configure on a sales order currently. Mention the command lines. We have the quick text library, so you can say, you can pick up, okay, this quote is only valid for 30 days, but this particular one is actually for 60 days. So that just makes it a little bit easier to operate. Right, and all of that, it will be always audit logged. In works orders, I'm going to skip, because of time, I'm going to skip the works orders as a bills of materials, because a similar sort of a thing is available in works orders. But we have our works order list here, and if you have a look at the first, and it's a new concept, it's a base items. So what it means, we give quite a lot more information on the works order in itself compared to Sage 200 Manufacturing. So you have your controls here, whether you can use it in the scheduler or whether it's not part of a scheduler. We'll give you on a list view if it's been linked on to any sales orders, which would be visible here. We have your components here, but from again, you have your allocations issue, stock profile, everything else available directly from the works order in itself. Operation time, so we can select whether they are subcontract, where there's a rework type of an operation requires inspection upon completion. You can select which inspection template it will use when it requires inspection, or you can have multiple different operational calendars as well. Same goes with the subcontracting. Costing, we give you original estimated, which is when you raise the works order, last estimated if you made any changes to your works order, and then the actual costs at the end. And of course, everything is audit logged, and then we do the carbon footprint calculations. But the base item completions are slightly different. So we would raise a works order for paint, but that's not actually what's going into stock. I would have a different types of works or different types of end items going into stock, and I can define what is my expected quantity that will go into the stock of each of these. And then if you have any extra materials for that base item, multiples item, that will be taken into account and issued onto the stock when you're completing the works order. On carbon footprint side of things, you can see there's a column for it as well, but what I will show you is on a completed one. So we have some carbon footprint against that. We can view the actual cost breakdown. We can see the materials, how much CO2 they have contributed. We can see all the machines, subcontracts, and such like. You can also, for overall, you can input your electricity bills just to take overall we use this much of electricity. This is the carbon footprint, as well as even the company cars. Can be taken into account into overall CO2 reporting. When you're managing your orders through, we also have a graphical scheduler that will give you an option to graphically schedule and highlight any lates or overdues. So if everything is in green, it's perfectly fine. However, if I click on this this operation here, I can go and view, and it's not happy in terms of the resources, but now because I put it into an available resource, it becomes available. Same thing here, it being booked on to work on a Saturday, which is not a typical working week, but you can assign works to the works for Saturday as well. Also have subcontract, which is blue, and you can schedule your subcontracting operations to coincide, maybe get better quantity breaks. And you can see the operations do not need to be back to back anymore. they can be separated from each other by days, weeks. But this is late because it's in orange. I can see that when I schedule it, and that's how live demo it freezes. But I could go back onto the same operation here. So I have conflict on my resource, so I could go on and put it onto somewhere where I have more availability, and that will color code it and reflect it to that. If I upload my scheduling, then it will update everything within the core system straight away. Right, there's been a few changes. Half an hour is a really, really short time to go through everything, but I am more than happy to go through more functionality. This is just scratching the surface. So if I move back on to my slides, so to migrate your data into Cim200, and once you're happy that Cim200 is a natural progression from Sage 200 Manufacturing, the upgrade process is actually very simple. So firstly, a Cim200 accredited partner will take your data through a test migration to ensure that there's no errors and may provide fixes to some data if needed. Then the migrated data will be used to train you on the new functionality, and reports and document layouts will be converted to utilize Cim200 manufacturing table instead of Sage 200 manufacturing. Then there will be a period of testing, and once you're happy with everything, your live data will be migrated and you can start working in Cim200 straight away and leave the old system behind. So there's no need to run down old orders or importing, exporting existing orders or manually entering them. And from there, you can continue to be supported by an accredited partner, very much the same as what you're doing now. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or wish to talk about the upgrade route, please get in touch with your business partner or with us, and we can progress it from there. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to stay online for a couple of minutes and answer to any questions that you may have.